The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. See how fans are already showing their Red Kingdom pride.
And we've got sunshine back in the forecast for Monday afternoon. We're tracking it for you coming up.
And roll carts are set to make their debut in Columbia tomorrow. This is KOMU 8 News at 9.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are officially going to the Super Bowl. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ellie La Liberté.
And I'm Avery Grosvenor. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. KOMU 8's Christian Riley Dutcher spent the day following all the action for us as the Chiefs took on the Baltimore Ravens earlier today. So, Christian, how are fans feeling after the big win tonight?
Well, Ellie and Avery, when I was downtown in Columbia today, I saw friends and families creating a sea of red. And tonight, fans can pick up some of these t-shirts marking the big Chiefs win. Even though the game was in Baltimore, that didn't stop the Chiefs' kingdom to celebrate in Columbia's restaurants. Kansas City clinched its spot in the Super Bowl by defeating the Baltimore Ravens 17-10 after a down season. I talked to fans who were thrilled and shocked to see their team punch its ticket to Vegas.
I can't believe it, honestly. I mean, they struggled kind of all year, especially on offense, and the fact that we're here, set, back-to-back Super Bowls, and some people don't get to see a Super Bowl in their life, and I said that last year, and I'm ecstatic, man. I can't believe it.
Fans made their way to retail stores after the game to get the latest apparel. One manager says despite the work it takes to keep gear hidden, it's worth it to provide fans first.
Logistically, it's almost a nightmare. I mean, FedEx brings stuff in and you locking it up and you hiding it out and putting curtains on doors. It's good to be able to have the opportunity to make the product available to the customers right away. So it's a big deal for us.
Our sports team will have full highlights of the game later in the show, but for now, in the studio, Christian Riley Dutcher, KOMU 8 News.
Okay, thanks, Christian. Roll carts will roll out of Columbia and into residents' homes tomorrow. Customers whose trash is usually picked up on Mondays will get them first. The city says distribution is expected to take about 4 weeks, but roll cart trash collection will not start until March 4th. One Columbia resident says he's lived in the city for 15 years and he's heard about roll carts for a long time.
I'm glad that there's finally a decision and that we can have a resolution and move on. They seem to have some benefits in the sense that they make the process automatic, which is going to be good for the sanitation workers. They're not having to lift like these bags. I think that's excellent.
That resident also saying he's going to use the roll carts in hopes they look clean and new. Under the new rules, residents will need to roll out their carts no later than 6:30 a.m. on trash collection days.
Well, new rules could be coming to Columbia school board meetings. Board members plan to vote on new proposals tomorrow. It includes a 4-hour deadline to sign up to speak. Right now, the deadline is 4.5 hours. There are also new rules to get an item on the agenda. The board's policy committee has been working on the new rules since October. One board member says the goal of the new rule is very simple.
1, to make the policy more easily readable for the general public. 2, to conform to the law, and 3, to allow for more general public comment.
The policy committee meets tomorrow. The full board has yet to approve of the changes.
Volunteers got up very early this morning to improve trails in Boone County.
That's right. The KOMU Trail Association worked on 1 mile of the Smith Creek Trail Loop at the Mark Twain National Forest. 10 volunteers spent about 3 hours on the work. This is the 3rd work event this year with plans to continue to improve the trails. The association's vice president says the goal is to make the trails more friendly for hikers, bikers, and horseback riders.
Essentially, we're just going to take piece by piece and spend a lot of time out here just trying to make small sections, big sections, till the whole thing is just a lot better shape.
The association says the goal of these work events is to help trails drain, make sure no trees are down, and to improve the trail surface.
We saw some clearing just at the end of the day. Most of us, though, cloudy all day long. Here's a look at the satellite showing you that cloud cover continuing to make its way to the east. The sky slowly starting to clear. Cooler temperatures filtering in too. Already down to 30 in Columbia and Jefferson City, 30 in Brunswick, and 31 in Mexico. Fog starting to develop as well. Visibility down to 5 miles in Columbia, Fulton 2 in Eldon, 1 at the Lake of the Ozarks. This is why the National Weather Service has issued a dense fog advisory. This is in effect until 9 to 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and this includes a good chunk of the viewing area with the exception of Pettis County and the Lake of the Ozarks area, but still fog possible for all of us. We are watching more sunshine, though, for this week ahead, and we'll break that down for you coming up.
Okay, thanks, Matt. We'll check back in. A drone attack on a U.S. outpost in Jordan left 3 U.S. soldiers dead and more than 30 others injured. This attack marks the first time U.S. troops have been killed by enemy fire in the Middle East since the beginning of the Israel-Hamas war. Officials say the drone appeared to come from Syria. President Joe Biden says the country will retaliate. Take a listen.
We had a tough day last night in the Middle East. We shall respond.
The White House is still gathering facts on the attack, and it is not clear yet who is responsible for the deaths. There have been more than 150 attacks on U.S. and coalition forces in Iraq and Syria since Friday. A bipartisan deal on securing the U.S. southern border could be ready in just days.
That deal would allow the president to shut down the border when unlawful crossings reach high levels. The bill also reforms the asylum system to resolve cases in a shorter time frame, as well as speeding up the work permits process. President Biden says he would sign the deal right now.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly. And Congress needs to get it done.
Aid to Ukraine is also tied to the border deal, which Democrats say is critical for Ukraine to defeat Russia.
House Republicans released 2 articles of impeachment against Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. They claim the cabinet secretary committed high crimes and misdemeanors, including, quote, willful and systemic refusal to comply with the law, end quote, and that Mayorkas breached the public trust by allegedly making false statements. The Homeland Security Committee will meet Tuesday to mark up the articles.
Hundreds of Israeli protesters blocked aid trucks from driving into Gaza. Protesters demanded that hostages held in Gaza are freed before any more aid is delivered into the Gaza Strip. The protests were organized by families of Israeli hostages held in Gaza. On Saturday, the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs warned the repercussions of declining humanitarian access. Only 9 trucks crossed into Gaza last week due to the protests. Up next, Boeing is putting its controversial planes back into action. Their latest investigation into the faults.
Plus, how victims are looking to hold a company accountable after their DNA was leaked onto the dark web.
And patchy dense fog expected for tomorrow morning. We're tracking the forecast coming up.
Welcome back. A driver in Pacific, Missouri backed into a nail salon, killing a woman and injuring 3 others. According to the Missouri State Highway Patrol, crews took the driver and 2 others to the hospital after the crash yesterday afternoon. No other details have been released yet, and it isn't clear whether the driver will be charged with a crime.
6 people are injured after an American Airlines flight hard landed at an airport in Hawaii. American Airlines Flight 271 was traveling from Los Angeles to Maui when it faced an issue while landing. In a statement today, the airline says the plane was, quote, taken out of service for inspection, end quote. The Federal Aviation Administration will investigate this incident. Staying in the skies, Alaska Airlines resumed flying its Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircrafts after some planes passed inspections.
The company grounded all MAX 9s on January 5th after a door plug flew out of a flight minutes after takeoff. The federal transportation investigators are still working to determine what went wrong. Alaska says inspections on all 65 of its MAX 9s should be completed by the end of next week. United plans to resume flights on its MAX 9 jets today. And coming up, 23andMe is under fire from its users. Find out how hackers play a role in the breach.
Patchy, dense fog for tomorrow morning. Temperatures below freezing too. So let's watch those bridges and overpasses for a few slick spots out there. We're gonna have a full look at your forecast, including the fog and the 50s that's coming up.
Here's what's happening right now. A teen murder suspect was arrested by the U.S. Marshal Service after escaping a Philadelphia police Wednesday.
17-year-old Shane Pryor escaped from a hospital where he was taken for a hand injury.
Authorities say he escaped from a staff during a transport and received outside help to get away. Pryor was charged as an adult in a 2020 homicide and is awaiting trial. Climate activists threw canned soup at the Mona Lisa at the Louvre Museum. Take a look at this video showing two women throwing soup at the painting. These two are reportedly a part of a food sustainability activist group. They say the French government is breaking its commitments to protect the climate and food sources. Museum officials say the painting is unharmed.
Officials in Wichita are offering a reward for tips about a stolen statue of Jackie Robinson. Authorities are offering $2,500 for any information and a $5,000 reward for the person who brings it back. The Wichita Police Department and the Wichita Crime Commission are working together to help with the return of this statue.
Officials identified the last confirmed victim of the Maui wildfires. Officials say a 70-year-old woman is officially the 100th death from the disaster. The government says rebuilding efforts are still challenging 5 months later. The fire destroyed most of the city of Lahaina and displaced thousands of people. Investigators have not determined the cause of the fire.
Biotech company 23andMe is facing a class action lawsuit. Authorities say hackers attacked the company back in April. Now, this suit accuses the genetic testing company of failing to notify customers whose personal information was leaked onto the dark web from that hack. It also accuses the company of failing to protect customers with Chinese and Jewish heritage, which were specifically targeted. Matt.
Temperatures looking to be above average in our week ahead, and we're looking to see more sunshine too. Something we've certainly earned after a very cold start to the month and a very cloudy week last week. Temperatures 40s, 50s for highs, lows in the 30s. Average low for this time of the year is around 23. The average high around 40 degrees. So we're going to be bouncing around, but even 30 and 29 as our lowest temperatures are still above, with a slight chance of rain by next Sunday. Overall, pretty quiet for the next 8 days.
The Chiefs continue to make history as Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes head to the 4th Super Bowl in 5 years. How KC managed to do it again, next. Here's a look at what we're following for KOMU 8 News at 10. More coverage on the Kansas City Chiefs AFC Championship.
We will have more fan reaction as the Chiefs head to their 4th Super Bowl in 5 years. Matt.
And that's something we love to see. Something we don't love to see, another dense fog advisory in effect. Temperatures starting below freezing tomorrow, which does mean that we will be needing to watch for an isolated slick spot or two. Bridges, overpasses, let's pay attention to those because they don't have the ground underneath them to keep them a little bit warmer. Don't think we're walking into widespread problems, but something to keep in mind. That's dense fog advisory now includes much of our viewing area. Temperatures, though, do get warmer tomorrow afternoon, getting to the 50s with lots of sunshine. We'll see that temperature stay in the 40s and 50s through most of the week.
Matt, I know you had that commute planner, and I know one thing people are planning are those Super Bowl commercials. I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to be drumming up soon.
I do wonder how long it takes for them to put those together.
I mean, they're probably just racking their brains, you know. Who knows?
Who knows?